ACCUCARE Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Brick, New Jersey offers a state-of-the-art facility with all the best and current treatments. With athletic trainers, massage therapists, and doctors of physical therapy, ACCUCARE has everything you need to stay healthy and perform at the highest level. Cupping, stretching, laser therapy, compression boots, and a full-body cryo chamber are just some of what you can expect at ACCUCARE. Check out their website and social media links in my bio. No prescription is needed to see them. So call them today and start feeling and performing at your best. Again, thank you to ACCUCARE for sponsoring the Shore Football Report. Welcome to the Shore Football Report, Week 5 edition. I'm Rob Davis. Scott Stump to my left. Scott, thanks for coming again. A lot to talk about this week, but first I want to again thank our sponsor ACCUCARE for always doing it the right way with the athletes on and off the field. They are so supportive and so knowledgeable in what we're going to talk about. Injuries was a huge topic for this week all over the Shore Conference. And ACCUCARE, guys, if you're not feeling right or you got to get your body aligned right before the game, go there. They will definitely do the job. ACCUCARE is there for everybody in Ocean and Monmouth County, and definitely utilize them with that. The other thing I want to say too is like and subscribe. And I haven't been saying that. I'm not good at this, Scott, but like and subscribe. Is that begging when we do that?
No, that's standard operating procedure.
Is it standard?
Yes.
Okay, standard.
We've been behind on that. Everybody down there, it takes 2 seconds. Click on the like button and subscribe.
And it's free. It's free. And if you don't like hearing us a lot with notifications, turn them off. But subscribe, please. I'm begging with that. But Scott, this week really put a damper on a lot of stuff that we were looking forward to, and we'll talk about it in the recap.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had number 1 versus number 3. That was a big showdown, but it felt like there was just kind of a somber tone to this weekend, given the major serious injuries suffered by a pair of starting quarterbacks, most prominently. I mean, you had Aaron Van Treese, the senior quarterback at St. John Vianney, who was airlifted up to New Brunswick to Robert Wood Johnson Hospital with a neck injury. Very scary. Had surgery on Saturday. We don't know the full extent of his injuries, recovery. His parents, the school, coaches have not put that out there yet, but very terrifying situation there. Anytime someone has to be airlifted right from a field, I mean, you're hoping and praying for the best.
Yeah.
And then also in Marlboro, who's having a great season, one of their best seasons. Their quarterback, AJ Schwartz, gets hurt badly, leg injury, it's like a broken leg. He has to be taken in an ambulance to the hospital, to Jersey Shore in Neptune with a serious injury. So 2 quarterbacks whose teams were having really good seasons and who were personally having really good seasons on both sides of the ball end up having these catastrophic injuries. And again, prayers out to both of them and their families. But I felt like that, especially in a week also where a player tragically died from Linden High School from injuries he suffered in a football game a week earlier. It was just a scary time, I felt like.
Scott, that's one of the things that no coach wants to ever endure, whatever. You know, a lot of things were going through our mind when we heard it too. Like, you're not thinking about stats or games,
Right.
results. You think about first the player, then his family, the coaches and his teammates, and the community. It affected a lot of people, those two kids, because they are beloved by their teammates and their community. And needless to say, their family too. So definitely our thoughts and prayers are out to the whole communities of St. John Vianney and also Marlboro. Just a tough time. You don't want that. You know, we're playing a little kids game of football. You know, we're going to forget about our records and all that down the year as the years go on. But you're going to remember something like that. And hopefully everything goes all right with those two young men and with their family. But we're definitely thinking about them. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It just kind of took the wind out of everything else because you realize that's more important than anything is these two guys getting healthy and making it through this and not having it be something catastrophic in their lives. So yeah, I mean, football, it's a violent game. I mean, that's not, something new. These things can happen. That's part of the sport. Sometimes it's rare, especially in the case of Van Treese. Yeah. I've been covering it for 20 plus years. I don't ever remember a player being airlifted from the field. I do, I remember Nick Tyson, the old all-short quarterback for Freehold Borough, broke his neck while at Marlboro, and it ended up being okay. He made it through, and not only that, he strengthened himself and came back and became a tremendous player and went on to play in college. So you hope for the best situation in something like that, if it's something like that for Van Treese, but we don't know. So you don't want to speculate about anything that the actual injuries may be with him. Just hope that you hear positive news. That's all we're hoping for. Is that in a day or two we hear something really good and really positive going forward for him. But I think the other part that really is just hurts, and it's when I hear about any senior that suffers a season-ending injury. This is the season you've been preparing your whole life for.
Yeah.
You're the leader, you're the senior. This is what you've been waiting for with your friends for all the time, and you're having a great season, and then something like this.
Well, Aaron was not this. He's a starting safety. He plays defense, and he got his shot. He won the battle at quarterback position this summer.
Right.
Really big, strong kid, and they were 4-1. They're 4-1 right now, and that happened. And AJ Schwartz, who was one of the all-division quarterback last year, and just leading Marlboro to uncharted territories right now. It just seemed 15, 16, 17-year-old kids how they react during the course of the game, because Aaron's happened, I think, in the second or third play.
Yeah, that's an amazing testament that St. John Vianney went on and played a tremendous game and won in a rout by a shutout. Yeah. After seeing, obviously they played in inspiration with him, played for him those last 3.5 quarters. But that's almost amazing that they were able to focus on the game and play that well after seeing like that something happen. I mean, you look on the flip side, Marlboro suffered a really tough loss to Howell after Schwartz got hurt. So yeah, you never know which way things can go when your friend, your senior leader, goes out in that kind of fashion. It can be devastating, and it can be really hard to focus on the task in front of you at that point.
You just don't know how somebody would be affected at that age. You just don't with that. And Manasquan's a very good football program, and to get beat 32-0 with something would just happen there in the third play is something. But our thoughts and prayers are with both parties. We know there's a lot of injuries that happen during the season, and we're not excluding anybody, but those were two big injuries that needed surgery too.
Yes.
I do believe. And our thoughts and prayers are to those guys, and I think the power of prayer is something that is very important, and I think is needed right now. And hopefully next week we're speaking more positive about the situation, right, Scott?
Right. Yeah, we're definitely going to get to all the games and all the recap. There were a lot of big games, big results this weekend, but yeah, our thoughts and prayers definitely going out to those two guys. Yeah, when you're talking week 4 in the Shore Conference, it was the game we were at. It was the game seemingly everyone was at.
Yeah.
Red Bank Catholic 14, Donovan Catholic 7. Kind of a weird game in the sense that RBC dominated in every number you could think of except for the ones on the actual scoreboard. They couldn't really exhale until the final play there.
Scott, I mean, just watching the game and not texting, or tweeting because nobody looks at my tweets anyway. So, I'm going to say one thing, though. I got to say this on air, that you were on the other side. I was on Donovan, and they scored the first touchdown. And it was getting cold. I looked at the tweet, and I like to retweet. You didn't put nothing up. So I'm looking at you, and you didn't look like you were getting any closer to tweeting. So
yeah,
it was
that's
almost,
because I thought you were doing it. So this was a total miscommunication.
so we're looking at each other. Nobody tweeted 2 scores. It's already 14. But I was no, he's going to do it. And you basically won.
He did do it at the end of the first quarter. And actually, that managed to be almost all the points in the game.
But that was, I didn't feel like tweeting it out. But looking at that game from the sidelines, the way I felt it was the maturity and physicality of Red Bank Catholic versus the youthfulness and athletics Donovan Catholic. I just thought that they were more mature veteran guys on Red Bank Catholic in the beginning. And they kind of empowered themselves a little bit.
It definitely seemed like maybe there was a little bit of jitters for Donovan Catholic in that first quarter. RBC took it to him, 2 straight drives.
Yeah.
And I thought RBC did win the battle up front the majority of the game. But I also thought, a lot of unforced errors by Donovan Catholic, fumbles on the mesh point when they're, faking handoffs and things like that. The ball not getting knocked on the ground, unforced errors, I guess you would say. That could just be, hey, a lot of them are young. They hadn't played in a game of that magnitude before.
But guy who stood out was Sabino Portella. Now, he didn't carry a lot of carries during the season, but he got his workload this week. He really did. And I love that he's a multi-athlete. He's a wrestler, tremendous balance. He's not the fastest guy in the world.
Yeah, that's the one thing that does stick out. You think you have him down, but he can stay balanced low to the ground and pick up another 4 or 5 yards before he goes down.
He's tough.
Which clearly, that's a wrestling skill translating there. The only knock on him, obviously, was he had 2 big fumbles where they had drives that could have really kind of put the game out of reach. But to his credit, he kept playing really hard on defense. I mean, he's an outstanding defensive back. So, I think he was able to shake that off and just keep playing. But yeah, I mean, you don't see a guy carve up a Donovan Catholic defense like that too much at all, to run for well over 180-ish or, it was a big game. But, I thought he did a great job. And their line, again, was getting a push. And I think another thing that stuck out to me a little bit was this was a game that has 3 game-breaking receivers right off the top of your head in Michael Thomas on Donovan, Ross, and Rahman on RBC, and neither of them really touched the ball much at all.
No. Rahman caught one ball that was in traffic. It looked like it wasn't supposed to go to him either.
Ross caught a great pass right in the first drive of the game that set up Portella touchdown, but it seemed like neither team, I mean, partially you can credit the secondary for both teams for doing a nice job, but I just felt like nobody really took as many deep shots as I thought they would, considering the game-breaking level of those receivers.
It was great because both teams were pretty dominant all season. But seeing like Emmanuel Ross going against the Richard Davis on the other side corner, I loved watching it because they were getting neutralized on one play and jawing at each other. And it was, there was a lot of competition on the field, a lot. Some of the top players at their positions, too, were going against each other. So I really got a good evaluation of some good football players there.
Right, and it was funny. We were talking during the game. We're saying, RBC's been playing so well, but one fluky play, and Donovan could be right back in it. What happens? Block, field goal. Thomas, the fastest guy on the field pretty much, picks it up, and he's gone 80 yards. And just like that, whoa, this is a one-score game.
It changed the momentum a little bit, even though Red Bank Catholic was kind of control of the game, but not by the score. Then all of a sudden, 14-7, changed everybody's view on the game at the end. It really did.
But I will say RBC was relentless defensively. That game, I walked away from that game going, they're the best defense in the Shore Conference. They did not allow a touchdoon. Obviously, we just said it was on special teams. Yeah. Their starting defense is not allowed a touchdown the entire
Kevin
season.
Gull, the D coordinator, is doing a great job.
And Davin Bruton felt like he just took over their linebacker at the end of one of the top defensive players in the Shore Conference. He was in the backfield on almost every play. And, I mean, once RBC they took away the freshman Najee Calhoun, who's a tremendous running back, they basically, neutralized him, which made Donovan fully one-dimensional near the end, where they were just able to unleash, Aiden Donahue and Bruton and all these guys just flying at Lamberson back there. And, Bruton was getting in the backfield and laying hits or getting pressures on seemingly every play there. at the end of the game.
I
he even had a few words for you for picking Donovan Catholic.
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't able to, go to certain restaurants too because I did pick Donovan Catholic. It was tough. I was the only one that picked him too. I think out of all the media people, so I had a bullseye on me. I get it.
Yeah, I was gonna go find you a fake mustache from the party store.
I did notice this though. Every time I did notice this. Every time I walk near you, you kind of distanced yourself from me. I did feel a little awkward there with that, but it is what it is.
Now you know what it's like to be a member of the media. For years when I did that, and you're lucky. Back in the days when I was at the Asbury Park Press, they used to make you pick the score. So if you put, this team's going to win 44-14, and then the other team won, you would basically have to sprint out of there after the game.
I don't think me or my wife are going to go shopping in the Red Bank area. We might kind of go.
Yeah, I would hold off on that. Just stay down in Barnegat.
It was all done in good jest and all that. But Donovan Catholic, I think, wanted to find out a little bit more about themselves. They're young and experienced, but very talented. They needed a big game, and they got a big game this week too. So does RBC.
Yeah, They're both RBC.
But I think they
both like that. I like that both of these teams are going out of the conference and challenging themselves against other top non-publics too. I mean, we'll get to that in the preview of the coming weeks, but I really do like that they're not totally just focused on the shore. They're thinking at a statewide level.
I thought it was a lot of respect on the field by both teams. It really was. It wasn't like a big screaming match and point and fit. No, it was a good football game, and I think the build-up was pretty good. I would have liked to seen a couple more deep balls and all that stuff, but we're not coaching, and that's that. But it was a great football game. Seeing that. What other games did you like out there?
I thought that the Rumson comeback to get the win there was another week, another American Division dogfight. So I think that again was a 14-10. I'll tell you one thing. Outside of the Donovan Catholic game, if you're a Manalapan fan, you must have like gray hair and be like chain smoking because every one of their games comes down to the last minute and a half, 2 minutes this year. I mean, it is nerve-wracking. It must be nerve-wracking to be a Braves fan this year. Exciting, but nerve-wracking because, they are right in it. They've had two tough losses now to Middletown South and Rumson that both right at the end of the game where they've been right in there. But credit to Rumson. Again, I feel like they're starting to build a little bit of momentum. Alistair Orr with 58 seconds left runs for a touchdown to give them the win. And, great job by their defense to keep them right in it in a close game. Owen O'Toole with some clutch passes again. Anthony Macchio seems like he scores a touchdown every single week from an open. But I think the real question with Rumson, and we've talked about this before, is they're playing this brutal schedule. How will that help them when it's time for the Group 2 playoffs?
We're going to talk about playoffs next week. Start breaking it in. They have two multipliers now because you're playing Red Bank Catholic, Donovan Catholic. They're getting that. They're going to be a 1 seed in that division. If they can finish up their regular season, which I think they may, they're going to be a tough seed because they're going to be seeded over Point Borough if they're in the same bracket.
And they're not really playing a Group 2 schedule. No. They're not playing a bunch of schools their own size. They're playing a bigger school or a non-public school every single week. So in other words,
dangerous team.
I'm not going to say it's going to look easy or something, but when they get to the Group 2 playoffs, it's going to be like, we've seen 10 times better teams than anybody in this bracket. They're going to be
a quiet 1 seed. Potentially in Group, a quiet one. They played that brutal schedule. Now they're going to play Group 2s, and they're on path with Point Borough if they're going to play them in the sectional or in the overall with that, because there are 2 teams that could potentially win their sectional. It'd be pretty interesting.
And speaking of a team they could see in those playoffs down the road, the one other ranked matchup of top 10 teams during the week was Point Borough just routing Raritan for another big win on their way, as the heavy favorite in that division. What more can you say about Point Borough? Although I will say, we'd love to give their defense so much credit, or their offense so much credit because of all the stars they have. But their defense gets a shutout and a 39-0 win over Raritan.
Scott, they run that 3-3 stack, and they're slanting, angling, blitz. You don't know who's coming, but 4 to 5 guys are coming because they have three down linemen, and everybody else is at the line taking turns with stunt. They're relentless on defense. relenting.
Right, and it's a lot of the same guys from offense that are playing on the other side there. But yeah, a lot of defensive only guys, but yeah, they looked at, I know Raritan's had some injuries, on their line and to some of their skill guys, but I mean, Matt Oliphant, 175 yards and 2 touch every week with him. It's a big game. And the other thing with Burrow, that's a testament to their coaching staff. They seem to start fast. Every game, they jump on people where it's like 14-0 in the blink of an eye. Like, if you're not ready to match their energy from the opening whistle, it's going to be like 35-0 at halftime. So
Connor Siliento, I believe, is their MVP, though. He touches the ball twice, makes 2 big plays, and then he's good. I think he's the glue to the team. Of course, Matt Oliphant is doing a great job at quarterback, and their line, they just have energy. They have a lot of energy with that.
Right.
Speaking of energy,
I mean, you look at them and you feel like they should be unbeaten by the time they're in the playoffs. I know St. John Vianney, though, still lurking out there. They're not going to be an easy out.
Big game.
I mean, another one that caught my eye as far as teams gaining momentum, Middletown North 17-0 over a Southern team that was coming off a nice win over Long Branch. North goes out and gets a shutout. Obviously, you really like their 2 big defensive ends, right?
I love him. I also love Luke Sheehan. He's getting better and better, but they didn't have to utilize him this game. Ian Poole Morgan was big with his field goal, 2 extra points. That was a big program win for Middletown North because that game could have gone either way. Southern plays great defense. Middletown North does too. They're kind of rolling right now and maybe setting up a big game with, Tom Driver North.
Yeah. I mean, I would say they're presenting themselves as the main challenger to Tom.
The main meal. Yeah. The main meal.
I mean, it just looks like the way North is at. And that Long Branch team is, pretty solid. And again, another North win of them just running roughshod over that division. I mean, North just seems like they're about 4 or 5 touchdowns better than everyone left on their schedule.
Scott, Kevin Gall got the assistant coach of the week for Monmouth County for his great schemes he provided this week. And then James Mahoney from Brick Memorial, the offensive coordinator. I mean, think of that. I mean, they're running Madden statistics at Brick Memorial with Connor Dietz.
41-21 late.
Yeah, I mean,
and Brick Memorial comes all the way back.
Connor Dietz is just having a heck of a season. He's having a better year than last year. 25-yard touchdown run on the power read where he's reading that end, cuts it right up the middle for a touchdown on 25 yards. Big comeback win. Neptune's got a lot of fight in them, but that's a great win for them.
That's just got to hurt for Neptune because they had been struggling to score points, and they come out and explode offensively. They had not had a game like that all year. So to let that one get, and I guess what also hurts is Neptune's head coach, Brian Duffy, he's a Brick Memorial graduate.
Yeah, it doesn't help. Doesn't help.
He had to lose to his alma mater in gut-wrenching fashion. You can't feel good, but you can take away the positives of you put 41 points on them when you kind of had been struggling to score. Maybe that's the offensive breakthrough that you've been looking for this season.
Brick Memorial has potential. They can get on a nice little run to the end of the season. I think they can get to maybe.
It's going to be all about their defense. They're going to have to. You're not going to win in the playoffs if you have to win a 48-41 shootout every time you go out there. And so I think if they can just get that area shored up a little bit, their offense is clearly one of the better ones in the short conference.
One of the most exciting games, and was caught live on the camera, was by me on Thursday. So. And I think we should have Thursday night football.
I was about to say, what is your opinion of the Thursday night game?
Love it. I think that as the president, I want to push for a Thursday night game so people can get in the spotlight. Because here you had Pinelands and Matawan, in the lower divisions, had a lot of eyes on them. Media was there. It was a lot of excitement. And boy, oh boy, Matawan was winning 21-0 comfortably. And Pinelands came back to tie it. They scored 21-21 with, I think it was like 40 seconds left. Do you kick an extra point or do you go for 2?
On the road, sometimes you think of just going for 2.
But it was 21-21. They just kick it. So they went.
I guess what I'm thinking more, they've had some kicking issues, so maybe there isn't 100% confident. They lost 7-6 in Barnegat in a game where they couldn't make an extra point. I mean, maybe that's in the back of your mind. You're right. Conventionally, you don't even think twice. You take the extra point.
Well, they missed the 2-point conversion. It goes to overtime. Amir Martinez gets a 12-yard run. They're winning. That one's going crazy. Kicks the extra point. They're up 28-21. Pineland's first play, they run jet sweep. He pulls back and throws the football into the end zone. I went, are you kidding me? Now, I had it all on film. It's now 28-27. What does Pinelands do? They go for 2. Give him a lot of credit because I would have gone for 2 in overtime. He makes his cut on a quarterback sweep, puts his foot in the ground. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to score. And Jordan Reamer, the D tackle, the 300-plus D tackle, scrapes and jars the ball loose. If he held onto the ball, he would have landed in the end zone. They recover. Cameron Cooper recovers in the end zone. Place goes ballistic. Talk about a big game with that. Now, you can look at it 2 ways. Matawan let a team come into their house and almost beat them. Or you could say,
being up by 3 scores.
Listen, bottom line is it's a win's a win. They're still they're now 3-1, but Pinelands lost 3 games by 10 points. They could be 4-0.
You can look at their season as like under John Tierney in their first season. They've showed a lot more fight. They're right in every game.
Right in it.
They are definitely no pushover team. But you could also think, man, they could be one of the stories of the shore right now with just a few more points here and there. They're 3-1.
There's no such thing as moral victories, is there? As an athlete.
No, it's tough to explain to players after you lose at a game like that. Hey guys, you were right in it. It was great. They're not really trying to hear that.
They're not hearing it. But
you know what? That's a good mentality. It's like, remember this feeling and let's find a way to get over the hump in these fourth quarter scenarios, overtime scenarios, and we'll be the ones walking out of here, jubilant.
Great game. Everybody looked for my video because I was on the sideline. I got it with that. But there's a program out there that's been there, done it. Is Middletown South. 3-1, just beat Wall. 24-6, a good Wall team. You'll find out at the end of the year. You'll find out Wall's going to be a pretty good team. But Middletown South is just like a machine. They just regroup after a loss, and they're sitting 3-1 and have a nice path to the playoffs with
yeah.
that.
I mean, Jake Zorkiel throwing a pair of touchdown passes. Another big, huge game from Colin Gallagher yet again defensively.
He's good.
That's a veteran coaching staff that they were able to kind of just wipe away that really hard, the lopsided loss to RBC and get right back in it, get focused again. And Wall, I mean, has anyone had a more brutal schedule to start the season than Wall?
Well, Friel-Borough has, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it just feels like every week they're playing like a top 5 or 6 team trying to get a win here as they start to build under new coach Ed Guerreri, move past the whole, hazing scandal from last year, a new team, new season, but it's like you're still searching for that first win because you're butting into one loaded team after another in a short conference.
Yeah, well, once you get out of the American division, they can start breathing again. Right? I mean, think of that. You could be the number 6 team in the American division, still make the playoffs, which Wall will.
And we'll talk one last game because you were everywhere. I mean, you were
Colts Neck.
You were at the gas station multiple times, I would assume, this past weekend because you were also at the Colts Neck, big Colts Neck game in that division.
I did. I love that team. I mean, you think about teams that you got to play good defense and you're able to run the football equals championships. And Colts Neck now with that loss with Marlboro losing this week, Colts Neck kind of is in a nice situation. They really are. I really like Colts Neck. Chris Scully, there's something about him. He's not the fastest guy. He's not probably the strongest, but he's got great balance and he's tough. But you trust him. He's good. He ran for over 250 yards. Eric Lorero, the DN, tight end, Charlie Wallen, the offensive. They're a good football team. And all of a sudden now, after a tough loss against St. John Vianney, people are starting to say, hey, this team can do it.
And that was a non-divisional loss. So when it comes to the Constitution Division with the loss by Marlboro, Colts Neck's in the driver's seat. They control their future now, where if they could just win out, the division title is theirs, in the next, and with everyone else in that division with at least one divisional loss, they actually even have a little bit of margin for error where they could still get a piece of the title. Obviously, they want the whole thing themselves.
Yeah.
But they're in a really good spot. And I think they snuck up on people a little bit. I mean, it's a good program, but they graduated such a great senior class. You knew they had Scully back, but I don't necessarily know if people thought they were going to be at this point of the season the team now to beat, the team that's the front runner to win this division championship.
They're a good football team. I always say this, Scott, is that when you look at skill kids and say, I don't know if their skill kids are great. Well, if they're winning, it's because their line is good. They're very good up front on both sides of the ball. I always said that if there's nothing real sexy about a team, not throwing the football and outrunning people, maybe you're good because everybody knows they're running the football and they're pounding it. They're pounding it, and they do a great job. But the reason why Colts Neck is in the driver's seat a little bit is because Howell upset Marlboro with the big injury, the second quarter that happened. So now Howell made it very interesting in the stretch run, winning 28-14. Jack Gartenstein had 2 touchdowns, one passing on a double pass.
Yeah, I was wondering whether they were going to use him in some trickeration, considering he started the year as their quarterback. He now plays wide out, but obviously if you run a double pass, you feel confident in him throwing one.
I think they're a better football team when he's a receiver. It just adds another dimension. It stretches the box a little bit. And Nelms is doing a decent job at quarterback, the junior. But that was a tough loss for Marlboro, both with the player and also.
Yeah, that is it's such a eerie coincidence that the two teams that lost their starting quarterbacks to major injuries, Marlboro and St. Dominic, play each other this week.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we'll get into that, but that just was very strange when you look at it that, these two teams that went through kind of traumatic events like in this game now have to, the team they're trying to pull it together and focus against is a team going through the exact same thing.
You said the word strange, and I talked about this at the Red Bank Catholic game. The strange game was Lacey Central. No, they've never had this far into the season, both teams winless. But yet there was a lot of energy at the game. Talking to both coaches, it was a great atmosphere.
With that rivalry, those seniors, they want to bump into those guys from the other team in 5-10 years and go, hey, we might not have won 1,000,000 games that year, but we beat you guys.
You remember those type of games. Yeah, so Lacey came out with a 31-18 win at home. They seem like they're playing Central a lot home, but that was a big rivalry win there. But it was strange. Strange saying that Lacey won their first game and you're into week 5 with that, right? Jackson took care of business against Frioboro, 26-0. Jackson, again, people go down on teams when they lose. They lost one game. They're now getting back into it. They're going to be a scary team. They can run the football. They got athletes, and they're physical. And they're Jackson.
Yeah, that division, it felt kind of wide open there for a while. Obviously, we just talked about how Colts Neck has surged to the front of the pack. But yeah, Jackson is the type of program that's going to bounce back. Especially playing, a winless Frioboro team. That was kind of a good opportunity for them to erase the bad vibes of the loss, get things headed back in the right direction. I think the one division where we got a lot more clarity, Shore Regional beating Keyport 27-0 in the Patriot division, to me, stamped them as the heavy favorite to win that. And then Asbury Park with a real nice 27-14 win over Point Beach. And now you feel like, Asbury versus Shore, that's it.
Whoever shows up for Asbury, we don't know. They're a different team every week. But when they have everybody, you don't want to play them. You're right.
Yeah, they're explosive. They're the type of team you can feel like, oh, we're comfortably ahead, and then boom, 80-yard touchdown, and they're right back in it. They got, a veteran quarterback. They got Javon Carter at running back. Like, they got guys who can make plays. But Shore right now has just flat out dominated that division.
Who's making me look good? Who's making me look good, Scott? When I picked who was going to win the division, I picked Ocean. And boy, did I get a lot of nasty messages from people. How could you say this? This? Well, there was something I knew about. I knew Tyler Douglas. I knew that if they were healthy, they would be okay. And then Mateo Andrews comes over. They quietly won 39-0, and Tyler Douglas had a quiet day, only 3 touchdowns. But they're rolling right now, and the Big Red is back.
Yeah, they're on their way. They appear well on their way to winning that division championship. They have an interesting non-division game this week against that Raritan team that just took a tough loss from Point Borough. But yeah, Ocean has just been building steam week after week, and Mateo Andrews, what an incredible addition to their team that just has made them so much more dangerous in the pass game. We obviously know they can run the ball. We know Douglas is a true dual threat. So yeah, no, there was there's definitely a lot of optimism.
They're going to be on. They're going to be on
the
the talk. They'll be on our talk show later on today. Tyler Douglas and of course Coach Don Klein. Red Bank was pretty pumped with the 29-yard touchdown run by Lamar Hicks with a minute 20 left in regulation. Helped them beat Traditional Power Brick 13-6. So Coach Fallon's got them 2-2. And, they've been playing.
That's a huge swing game to me, I think, as far as if RBR is going to make a push for the playoffs.
Correct.
So kind of had to have that game. And to find a way to win it inside the final 2 minutes is just such a huge confidence booster.
Nice.
And on top of that, their defense had really struggled for a lot of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So to turn in an effort like that where you hold Brick to 6 points, I think there's just a lot that you can take away from a game like that moving forward for them.
St. John Vianney's been playing good. I mean, they had that unfortunate situation that happened, but they rolled for their 4th win. Give that coaching staff a lot of credit and a lot of credit to the players, how they overcame the emotional, the emotional drain of their beloved player, man. 32.
And I've already seen, they have the number 18 stickers for every entrance that they're going to be putting on their helmets and all that. They're going to be playing inspired by him the rest of the season. So, I mean, this is a team that's now playing for more than themselves to some degree. They're playing for their friend and their teammates. So, and they're a team. I mean, they look just better and better every week. Like they are hammering people back-to-back shutouts, right?
They're getting better. They're getting better.
Yeah, and a Manasquan, that's how many times has St. John Vianney beaten Manasquan by 32 points in the history of their program? So I think that you can't overlook them when we looked at that division. I think in the preseason, and some of the common wisdom was Point Borough's the clear favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Raritan and Manasquan, right? Well, it's like, hey, St. John Vianney's like, what about us? Like, we just killed Manasquan, and now obviously they're going to have to replace their starting quarterback. So that's never easy. That's a really difficult thing because he's a really good player on defense.
Very good.
So we'll see how that develops as far as what they look like moving forward. But, Jeff Papson has them just playing great football right now. It's really just how they respond after a pretty devastating event.
Is it possible that a football team could be that good that they distance themselves from the excitement of a game like Toms River North? They're the number 2 team in the Shore. They played the number 14 team in Long Branch. If you told me this in the summer, I'd be like, oh, I can't wait. And it was like, oh, by the way, they won 42-0 at Long Branch, and they're just rolling right now.
Honestly, the most I thought about with Toms River North was when we were at the RBC game, because in my mind, I'm imagining, okay, so if Toms River North was playing these teams, would they be winning? Are they the number 1 team?
Yes.
That was like the main consider, because there's not really any intrigue left in their regular season. There's not. I don't think anybody can hang with them who's on the rest of their regular season schedule.
And we're not putting the other team down. It's just this team's that good.
I mean, they're a top 10 team in the state. You'd be saying that against 90% of the 5% of the Shore Conference.
Group 5's loaded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm happy about, in the sense that they will be challenged by multiple other top 15, top 20 teams in the state. They're going to have to beat if they want to make a run all the way to the inaugural Group 5 championship. They're going to have to go through some really tough opponents, which is what we've wanted to see.
100%.
Because, the whole time with RBC, I was just thinking, would Toms River North beat them? Like, they got some great skilled players, and we're never going to know because they're never going to play each other.
I'm not going to say nothing because I want to get that respect back from certain teams. But
you're already public enemy number 1 at Count Basie Field.
The fake mustache is going to have to come back on. But, and Jackson Liberty won a big game for Coach Sharp.
Yeah, that was a nice win for them. I think that, raised a few eyebrows too.
Yeah, I mean, 18-14 beat a Manchester team that had a couple wins under their belt. Zach Corrado, 107. They had only 27 yards last week, and then the next week here they had over 200 plus. Big difference. That's high school football for you. I mean, that's just anything can happen, especially in the Liberty. In the Liberty, right? And Toms River East, versus Barnegat, which
over Barnegat.
I was kind of shocked that East won 14-0 against Barnegat, but give credit to Coach Sandberg in that game. And there was
they've picked up a couple wins.
There was only 270 yards total offense combined in that game. That's crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
Right.
But Tom River is one.
It seems like a lot of Ocean County a lot of the teams, whether it's Manchester, Pinelands, Jackson Liberty, Toms River East, Toms River South, they're all separated by about 2 points. You never know from week to week, seemingly, who is going to win in all those different matchups between them.
You know whose calculator is probably broken is Lakewood's. I mean, come on. I mean,
I'll tell you what, Lakewood, they don't have a winning record, but you go to their games, there's definitely going to be a ton of excitement, that's for sure.
It's 54-35 versus Keensburg. Kiana Timms had 4 touchdowns, and they're rolling. They had almost 500 yards rushing, 54 points, but they're not stopping people.
Right.
At least they're a threat in one capacity. And anytime you play them,
that's always my thing. You know what? They might struggle in that area, but their games are exciting. I mean, if even the game where they lost against Mastery of Camden, where it was another wild, high-scoring game, that's a fun game to go to. I mean, I guess I'm bad because I love the crazy offense. Like that 52-49 Fordham Monmouth University game earlier this year was like one of the most fun games I've seen in years, where you're just like, there's so much action where even like, not to drag the New York Jets into everything, but the reason they make me so crazy and I hate them so much in recent years is because not only are they bad, they're boring. They lose like 20-3. This week they scored 12 points. So like if you're gonna be struggling in one area, at least be fun. I mean, if a Lakewood game to me seems like a lot of fun. If you're gonna go there, you're definitely not gonna be bored.
Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator are definitely feeling differently with different games. And in the last game, Monmouth got back on the winning track, 14-9. They're playing a couple divisions higher this year. Julian Jones, 254 yards. He's a dude. You put him in any division, he would be a starter in probably 95% of the teams. 14-9 win against a Homedale team that's playing, tough football, but not on the winning end this season.
Yeah, and you hope Monmouth, you'd like to see them get a playoff berth if they could, so that Julian Jones maybe get a little spotlight there. All right, we're looking at this week's top 20. We were at the big one on Friday night. We got some clarity on that number 1 spot, Red Bank Catholic.
For right now,
solidifying that with the win over Donovan Catholic. And I agree, Donovan Catholic staying at number 3 off a close loss. That was a good. I like to see that they weren't docked anything for that. And this is going to be the conversation, I think, the rest of the year, Rob. Toms River North or Red Bank Catholic as the number 1 team in the short. Here's a scenario I would throw out at you. Say RBC loses to Seton Hall Prep next week, a top 15 team in the state, very good program. And Toms River North remains undefeated. Do they jump the Casey's, or is it just, hey, that's a tough non-conference?
Well, it will be discussed. It definitely will be. But you know what's great about our coaches' top 20? Other
coaches vote on it?
Coaches are voting on it. We just supply it and say, here we go. That's a tough one because I would love to see RBC play Toms River North. Toms River North would present some more problems offensively, I think, than Donovan. But who knows? I mean, we're talking about a Group 5 school, too. They're not like a Point Borough team that's doing well in their Group 2. Toms River North is a Group 5.
That's filled with as many FBS caliber talents and all-shore talents as either of those other teams, even though they're
It's going to come down to the end of the year. If RBC win, well, I mean, if they win it, you have to give it to them. But if they don't win it, and somebody else doesn't win it or wins it.
It's only happened a few times, but if both teams go undefeated, that will be a crazy conversation at the end of the year.
How about Point Borough? How about if Point Borough wins the whole overall Group 2?
Yeah. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Aren't we?
As far
right?
As this week concerned, we got St. John Vianney continuing to move up, Ocean continuing to move up, Middletown North continuing to move up. I think teams are starting to we're starting to really start to get a little more clarity, a little more separation. Colts Neck's been rising up, especially with the Colts Neck victory coupled with the Marlboro loss. I think that, people realize they're on track to win a division title. So the coaches, I think, rewarded them seeing as far as that. Rumson's kind of nudged back into their customary territory a little bit. They keep kind of climbing a little bit higher. They're going to play Middletown South. So, that will get settled.
Quietly, too, right? It's like quietly they're
I think when you're in a division with Donovan and RBC, they kind of overshadow so much of what's going on that, those are some really good games between good teams in the public schools in that division.
Tom Driver North should be in the American. They should just be in the American.
That's what I would really hope, that that they had realigned them in there this year, because then it would have all got settled. I mean, it would have been borderline unfair in the sense that the team that finished at the bottom or near the bottom might have been a really, really good team, but there's just mathematically not enough wins to get with that many good great teams at the top. But no, you're right. If Tom's River North was swapped with, I would say, Wall right now, then you'd get all of this settled on the field.
Scott, you know what upsets me though, from a coaching standpoint, is that the ADs put all the good teams, or let's say all the powerful teams, higher, and then they trickle it down. You look at those 6 teams in the American. If they were spread out like in other years, they all may be champions.
Right.
They all may be champions. Right. So it's.
But I think the other feeling though was, conversely, too many divisions were lopsided because one of those teams or 2 of those teams were in these other divisions, and they're 10 times better than everyone in the division, so there's no intrigue there. But no, the American division gets a ton of attention because half of our top 10 is from this division team. So they did stack it where the last place, Wall. This will show the respect for that division. Wall is number 17, and they're 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how good coaches think that division is, that a winless team is still considered a top 20 team.
Well, nobody wants to play an American team, and Wall's playing now Howell this week. I don't think
this week will be a good week to compare the relative strength of divisions, because it's just a ton of non-divisional games.
Mm-hmm.
And then our 2 of our best teams, Donovan Catholic and RBC, are going to go outside the whole conference and play other top non-publics in the state. So we're going to find out within the Shore Conference the relative strength between divisions, and then the strength of the Shore Conference as a whole when 2 of our flagship teams are going out there to play, 2 top 15 teams in the state.
We're going to talk Ocean Township Big Red football with head football coach Don Klein and senior quarterback, safety, punter, and kicker Tyler Douglas. Guys, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. I'm going to keep this real quick, like your offense. 10 to 12 minutes, no timeouts. Let's keep the tempo going. You understand that? Because you got a big game this Friday. All right? You are currently 4-0 and ranked number 7 in the coaches' top 20, which just came out today. You're averaging just a hair under 40 points and giving up 15 points a game. Now, here's my question to you, Coach. Last year you were 2-8, and now you're not. You're opposite. You're 4-0. What is the difference of the 2 seasons?
I think for us, with our success this year, is that we've stayed healthy. I mean, last year was a difficult year for us. We were affected greatly by injuries on some of our key players, and we were playing a lot of young guys. So I think that combination really kind of handcuffed us in our ability to stay competitive and win a lot of games. And again, having said that, we were in a bunch of games last year that just went the other way. I mean, we were a handful of plays away from being a 5-5 type team last year, with all the injuries, with starting 7 sophomores and 1 freshman. So if somebody were to say, what's the biggest difference, I think right now is that we've remained relatively healthy, and we're able to get our playmakers the ball on Friday nights.
Now, Tyler, you could agree with that, with the healthy part. With that, you had a busy off season yourself, right? Now everybody's talking about this guy named Pickett from Ocean, but also your recruiting was also pretty busy too. I was following it too. You just committed to Temple University.
Thank
Congratulations.
you.
Busy off season for you. How relieved are you that it's all over?
I'm definitely very relieved it's all over. It was definitely, there was a lot going on. I was with Rassiopi sometimes twice a week,
Yeah.
Get to school early and all that. And, Rassiopi got me right. We honed in on the quarterback skill, footwork, all that fun stuff, timing of routes. And he really helped me out throughout the offseason. And like you said, Kenny Pickett, I got to work with him a good amount of times, and he helped me out as well.
Well, there's somebody else who's worked with some pretty good quarterbacks. It's the guy in the middle, Coach Klein. Coach Klein, you know a lot about quarterback play and your resume of, building quarterbacks out there. How does he rank out there with all the top quarterbacks you've had?
Oh, he's right there. people ask me to compare him and Kenny a lot, which I'm not going to do just because I have great respect for both of them, and I think they're very similar in some ways, and I think they're different in others. They're both fantastic players. Obviously both played for me and played for me at a high level. But I think Tyler makes a good point. When you're developing Division I scholarship quarterbacks at that level that we're doing it, it's not just about one person's development. They have to be in the right program. They have to be, playing within the right scheme, and they have to have the right training. And I think the formula that we use here in regards to preparing our quarterbacks to play is all inclusive. And I think it's a really, really good environment for quarterbacks to play at a high level. But Tyler's fantastic. He's obviously extremely physically gifted, but he's very, very competitive. He's very tough. And I think those are the things that are going to carry him to success once he leaves here. I was telling people last week, if Tyler throws the ball with anticipation at the next level, which I have every reason to think that he will, from the pocket, he's going to be a monster at Temple.
Tyler, I have one thing that he's got on you. Pickett. He makes a little bit more money than you right now, I believe. But you never know with the NIL. You never know. You never know right now. But listen, I remember seeing Pickett play in high school and seeing you watching you play, and a lot of similarities. And that's a nice compliment to have with Coach right there. Coach, in the summertime, we talked, and you were, and I love you because if you got something good, you'll let me know. You don't sandbag. You let me know. And you were very confident about your team. You really were, coming off a 2-8 season, which you were not used to doing, but you knew that we were going to get, you said, we're going to get back to Big Red winning ways. Tell me some of the players that helped you get to where you're at right now at being 4-0. Not Tyler and not Shane Garrett. We're going to talk about them a little later, but some of the other guys.
Well, if you take those two away, I think CJ Flanagan's the next guy that I would go to in that conversation. CJ's an explosive player. He's a 3-year starter for us on both sides of the ball. CJ has made more high character plays during the course of his career than anybody I can remember. I mean, he's a kid that just continues to play and compete, never say die attitude, and he does a really nice job for us at safety on defense. And like I said, he's really making a lot of plays for us on offense this year. CJ's a guy that we're kind of limiting. We're managing the touches is probably a better word, because he's a guy that we're going to need here on the back end of this season and moving forward. If we want to accomplish some of the goals that we have in mind for ourselves, we need to get healthy CJ Flanagan to do that. He's been playing really, really well. Mateo Andrews, another kid, obviously a transfer from Neptune. He's made a lot of plays for us here in the front half of the season. He's done an excellent job. Caleb Thompson's another guy that's really doing a nice job on both sides. Ben Trench defensively, Ben Gerard defensively, Willie Canavan. And then up front, Nick Caruso, Giancarlo Palazzolo. Those guys are playing at a really high level. So I can go on and on about a bunch of our guys, but those are some of the seniors and the underclassmen that are kind of carrying us and playing at a high level. Steve Falco had a great game for us last week. Jason Webster's a senior on the defensive line who played really well last week. So we're fortunate that we have a bunch of guys playing at a high level right now.
Now, Tyler, we're going to talk about the skill kids a little bit, but I want you to talk about those linemen in front of you. Now, when I was at your game against Brick Memorial, I love the interaction you had with your line. I mean, it's obvious you're a leader. You're a coach on the field, but those linemen, they believe in you. You believe in them. They let you do what you do. Tell me about those linemen. Let's hear some names out there.
It all starts up front with the center, Nick Caruso. He's been starting since freshman year. And
good one.
Coach touches on the point that you find character in a kid when he breaks his primary hand and he always comes back and he snaps with the left hand. That's about someone that they're willing to do anything for the team, which is awesome. Giancarlo Palazzo, like we were just talking about, he's awesome. He's really stepped in and taken the role. Tommy Ikuzi, he was missing for a little bit, but we get him back now, and he's looking good, looking healthy. He's doing his thing. Who else we got in there? We got Matt Richter. He's a younger kid. He stepped up to some big roles. Ruby Israeli. There's a bunch of guys up there just really doing their thing and letting me lead the offense the way I want to. And like you said, they just have that trust in me to let me tell them the protection or let me tell them whatever I need to tell them. And we just get going, with the tempo. And they're always ready to go with tempo. Sometimes with the linemen, you're like trying to push them and egg them on to keep going, but they're going. They love to keep going.
I'm a big offensive guy, and I'm a big fan of Coach Klein and his offense. It's RPO, run power often, right? No, RPO, what you guys do. you guys are a threat at any time that you could run the ball or throw it to a wide range of receivers. Mateo Andrews, Shane Garrett, and Sobieski with Flanagan there, and you also have the other running back, Tom,
Nick Iacuzzi.
Nick. I mean, you got somebody.
Thompson.
You got some dudes there. I think the combination of quarterback, receiver, tight end may be one of the best in the shore. Arguably, yourself, Mateo, Garrett as the main guys, and a bunch of other guys too that could fill in there. How fun is it in practice? You know, doing all that stuff that you do, RPOs. The ball can go anywhere, and you're facilitating the football.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. You know, practice is always up tempo, and you know, it is fun. I'd say the group gets along very well. We all like to have our fun, but you know, we know when we got to lock in and really take practice seriously.
Let's talk Friday night, because that's why you're here. All right, you built yourself up to a big game. It's a non-divisional game. You're 4-0, number 7 ranked, playing at number 12, 3-1 Raritan. It's a big game for both of you in terms of, I know Coach probably doesn't want to talk about it, but it's PowerPoints. It's PowerPoints. You guys put yourself in this situation here. Coach Klein, tell me something that maybe people don't realize about Raritan, going into Raritan.
I think for us, maybe people on the outside don't realize that how difficult of a place it is to play. They get they have very passionate fan base. Their student body is very excited about their football program. They show up to games and they're loud and they'll get after the other team a little bit. So it's a tough place to play. Like I said, I mentioned before, I think it's 4 years in a row we played there. I don't know what's up with that, but you know, we're excited about the opportunity that comes on Friday night. Have a lot of respect for Coach Petruzzi. I think he does an excellent job. He's got a great staff. He's got a disciplined program. Every year, you know, you're going to get a great effort from their players, and they have some really talented kids. So we're expecting a great game on Friday night, where we know it's an opponent that's not going to take a step back from us. We know that they're going to be excited about playing us. Also, we've been preparing that that way this week. So we're excited about Friday night. A lot of respect for those guys. Looking forward to a good one.
Yeah. Now, Tyler, I always say tradition doesn't graduate. Raritan's got tradition. So do you. Going into this game, there's a lot of excitement in the community, right? In the hallways.
Yes, for sure.
That you guys have.
A lot of fun always.
Tell me, is this just another game to you guys, or is this a big game because you're playing another team that has the same goals as you guys do for off season?
I mean, I'd say we look at it as just another game. You can't overhype any of them more than the other ones. You always got to be working hard in practice. You know, stack good days is what we preach at Ocean. So, you know, the practice has got to be good. You got to be high tempo. There can't be a moment where we're down. You know, but it's just like another week. You know, you got to take it week by week and just keep going. Yeah,
I mean, I came back and told Scott Stump I just loved going to your game. I love being on the side. I just love the intensity with the coaching staff led by Coach Klein, and just the way you guys were interacting. I thought it was great. It was a really fun game. I just can't tweet your games. It's too quick. Like, you scored a touchdown, you did it again, and this touch. I mean, can you slow it down a little bit for me? I'm very slow at tweeting. I really am. But had a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to being there Friday too, watching you guys play. I kept my word, 10 to 12 minutes. All right, you guys got to. I don't want anybody blaming me or saying you're the reason why you won. All right, you guys came on here 10 to 12 minutes. I appreciate spending some time talking Big Red football, and it is Big Red, Coach, right? Because people keep saying that to me. It's Spartans.
It's Big Red. It's Big Red. Coach Conti brought the Big Red to us. Our program is the Big Red, so we'll fall under the umbrella of Ocean Spartans and all that stuff. But the Ocean Township football program is Big Red. We have Big Red on everything, and we're proud of it.
Good, guys. I appreciate
it. Coach, too, let me just mention quick, with our success and stuff, RJ Reed, our offensive coordinator, is doing an absolutely outstanding job orchestrating this thing. I definitely want to make sure he gets credit. And our defensive coordinator, Phil Green, is doing a great job as well. So the entire staff, but the two coordinators have done an outstanding job at this point. We're excited about those guys. They're really, really good young coaches.
Yeah. Whatever you're doing, Coach, keep it going. It's going well, man. I did my last taste when we played you guys. I mean, you took it easy on us. You beat us 49 to the 6, I think it was. So I know how.
That was freshman year.
Yeah. Oh,
Tyler was a freshman on that team.
You know what? I feel like you've been playing football for like 7 years there, man. You've been there for so long. Yeah, yeah. You know what's great about you? You made all division at many different positions too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, what a great career you had, Tyler. I want to appreciate you again coming on the show, and wishing you the very best for this season and also in the future. And Coach, good luck to you guys. I'll see you Friday night.
Thanks, Coach.
And if you guys need anything, the Shore Football Report is there for you guys.
Awesome.
Yep. Thanks for doing what you do.
Go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, guys. All right, you ready? Week 5 previews and the storyline versus 2 big games with the non-publics. Red Bank Catholic is playing Seton Hall Prep, and then Donovan Catholic's playing St. Joe's of Montvale, and everybody else is playing somebody else in another division. So now we get to see, maybe our division's better than your division, that type of thing, right?
And then overarching, we have the Shore Conference getting a statewide spotlight with those 2 matchups. St. Joe Montvale in the NJ.com top 20 is number 5. And Seton Hall Prep is number 10 and just beat a really, really good Irvington team 28-20 last week. So that was a huge win for them and an impressive win that shows like this is a team that is not going to be any kind of easy win for RBC, who incidentally is number 3 in the state. So it's 3 versus 10 there. But yeah, their quarterback, Liam Lonergan, threw 4 TDs last week for Seton Hall Prep in that game. And RBC, so much was put into the Donovan Catholic. I mean, they have been, since last year, waiting for that one. So much focus had been on there that you don't want to have a letdown spot here because you can't against a team that caliber.
And it's at Red Bank Catholic, correct? Yeah.
Yes, that helps.
Yeah, that does help because Donovan's playing at MetLife. Or should we say Jet Stadium? Good. All right, good. But, yeah, Red Bank Catholic's going in there, number 3 in the state against the number 10 Seton Hall Prep. Had a big emotional win because they did break a 2-game losing streak to Donovan. They did.
And that game, theoretically could have been for the final number 1 ranking or went a long way towards a potential division title, number 1. There was just so much riding on that game that, again, ton was built up for that, but both of these teams, you have to be right back on your game this week.
You got to win your backdoor games. You could be state champion and you come home, and if you lost to your rival, you ain't getting that respect.
Well, and I also think this is just, again, this is a respect kind of game for how good is the Shore Conference.
Yeah.
For a year, since the dawn of time in New Jersey football, the North Jersey non-publics have been the juggernauts for so much of it that, you want to go up there and prove yourselves, or, have them come here to you, whatever, and beat these teams to show like, hey, the non-public programs we have down here are just as good as the ones up there, which RBC has proven with a couple state titles here in recent years. But yeah, this is just one of those games where you're going to have the eyes of way more than Monmouth and Ocean County on you.
I mean, they're playing the number 10 team over on the state after a big emotional. This is going to be a huge statement game for their program too.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going to win people over with that. So, and then Donovan Catholic's going to MetLife to play at St. Joe's Montvale, who's ranked 5th.
Finally, some good football will be played at MetLife this year. That'll be nice. It'll actually be good to be able to walk in there and see some decent football.
Yeah. So it's going to be a big game for Donovan too to regroup. They lost an emotional game. Now they're playing one of the top teams in the state of New Jersey in a big arena.
And St. Joe Montvale had a good-sized lead last week and let it get away from them against St. Peter's Prep, a wild 41-38 game. So they're coming, Donovan and St. Joe's both coming off close, tough losses. So this is a real pivotal game. I mean, Montvale's the favorite in this game, certainly.
Yeah. But
this is a game for Donovan to show, like, hey, we can hang with these guys, especially given that Donovan's state bracket, is loaded with these type of teams.
But here's the thing, Scott. We talk about PowerPoints. In non-public, there's no such thing as PowerPoints because what they do is they reseed. And last year, I was really upset with Donovan Catholic got pushed down because the higher ups, they reseeded them lower, and then they had to play Bergen Catholic in the first round. So beating this team right here might give them a little bit more respect when they get reseeded in their bracket because they're both making the playoffs.
The tough thing too, if you're Donovan, they struggled to stop the RBC run game. The game we're at, Savino, Portello over 180, RBC over 200 yards rushing. St. Joe's Montvale ran for 451 yards and 5 touchdowns last week in that loss. So the run game is their bread and butter. So that's going to be a big challenge for them.
Well, yeah, that's going to be tough. There's going to be some big time football players.
But you know what? I applaud them. I have always been an advocate of go out and play these really tough teams. Don't just be the big gorilla in your area. Go out and play other teams that are similar to your program on that level. And let's be honest, in New Jersey, there's a competition for talent statewide. You're competing, whether you want to say, even though St. Joe Montvale is on the other end of the planet up there's players from down here that, might be thinking about going to schools up there. The competition for talent is statewide. So you want to prove yourself against these teams and show, we belong in that echelon.
Yeah, I mean, I think football is different than basketball or baseball. You could play top-level teams. The tackles are a little harder. They're a little faster. They're a little stronger at certain positions. And the physicality is what overwhelms people sometimes when you play that caliber.
Right.
There's, everybody – I remember my college coach said, when you're on turf, you're a lot faster. And then so's the other team.
Right.
So it kind of –
Well, and recruiting-wise, you talk about, college recruiting-wise, when you want to get film playing other top guys, FBS-level talents that have X amount of offers, I mean, these are the games where you get that film. You're going to match up with a guy who might be a big-time Power 5 recruit. So it's also your chance to show yourself against that level of competition when you might not get a ton of opportunities to do that during the year.
Yeah, and you want respect for all-star teams or with college recruiting. It's who you got the yards against, or who did you make the play against? Because that says a lot, the competition factor with that. And
now as far as locally, we have all non-divisional games this week. And it's weird how it worked out. You don't really have that top 10 matchup of two things. And the one game that stood out to me, and more just for crazy, coincidental reasons, is Marlboro playing St. John Vianney a week after both of their quarterbacks suffered serious injuries, and they both are trying to deal with this traumatic situation, now have to go against each other.
If you didn't know what happened last week, you would say 4-1 Vianney playing at 3-1 Marlboro. Come on, that's huge. But there's a little kind of, there's a little bit of a downplay of this game, a little bit, because everybody's focused on, a little bit other things. But it is a big game.
That's the thing. Just think of your state playoff points and seeding. That's a huge game for both of those schools to get a win.
Marlboro's going to make the playoffs. Why? Even if they lose this game against Vianney, they're getting a multiplier, a B-level multiplier. They're going to get, and that's what they didn't have last year. So they already have 3 wins. They're going to get a multiplier. They're going to make the playoffs. But are they just going to waltz into the playoffs and not be a factor?
I think it's really going to be a question of what do these teams look like now with 2 different guys playing quarterback, and both of those players, Aaron Van Treese and AJ Schwartz, were very good in the secondary.
Yeah.
So they have to be replaced on that side of the ball too. So I think that's the thing, is just this is going to be what do we look like going forward?
I'm more interested to see how Marlboro adjusts, because Vianney's got Foley at quarterback. I think he'll be the quarterback, and I think they'll be okay there. I think they got a little bit more different players. Marlboro, are they going to go with Klein, or are they going to move a kid like Ryan Mendez to quarterback? Because you got to get to a point now. You got to say, we have to have our best athlete on offense playing quarterback right now, or is it the next guy that's been practicing? Or because sometimes you're rotating players in practice, not even thinking that he's the next guy. Well, he's the next guy right now. So who is going to be the quarterback for Marlboro? We're going to find out.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Both of these teams are having such promising seasons. Can they keep it going after these tough losses?
Ocean Township, Raritan. All right, that's a big game. 4-0, 3-1. The number 7 ranked team versus the number 12. I'm going to be at that game. Tyler Douglas playing, Kieran Falzone on the other side. A lot of explosive offensive players. Could this be a high-scoring game? 40-30. And if it is, I'm not tweeting it out. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, Raritan's been a little banged up. They got shut out by Point Borough. I'm interested just to see Ocean outside of their division. You know, they've done really well into their division. How do these divisions compare?
Yeah.
Ocean looks like it's on the way to being the division champ, you know, whereas Raritan's probably like maybe second or third behind Point Borough at this point.
And the
So how do these divisions stack up against each other? I mean, no one's been able to stop Tyler Douglas, period. So that's almost a storyline week to week. Is anyone going to be able to slow him down? Or is, you know, he just going to continue to put up crazy video game
PowerPoints? It's a lot of PowerPoints for both teams. Both teams will make the state playoffs. Yeah, it'll be a fun game. Raritan is recovering from a couple guys being banged up. Ocean's, knock on wood, healthy, which they weren't last year. So it's going to be very, very interesting with that. Howell Wall, like you said, we're now bringing an American division versus an independence. Howell just beat Marlboro, who lost their quarterback. Now, if I'm them, I'll have a chip on their shoulder saying, wait a minute, we beat them. You know,
that's a very tough injury, but don't take that win away from them.
Because they were winning at the time, too. And they beat them last year. So I know they're saying, wait a minute, we're good, too. They had a couple heartbreak games, and now Wall comes in winless, and we're going to see how good the American division really is, right? And it's going to be interesting because Wall needs to have a couple wins because they're going to get the multiplier. They'll be dangerous in the playoffs. I don't want to play
Wall. Wall's biggest challenge this week is getting their offense going because that's the area they've really, really struggled for the most part in these first couple American division games. Granted, facing tremendous defenses for the most part, 1 week after the next. But I think this is the game where they really want to start to build some offensive confidence, and their defense has been pretty solid. So, you know, I think that you're right. This is just a great comparative look at the last place team in the American division against, you know, like a second, third place team contender in another division.
Yeah. And then you want to talk about a big PowerPoint type game would be Brick Memorial playing home versus Corey Davis with Freehold Township. And let me just say this. Every time Freehold Township loses or doesn't look good, the next week he does it. And that's scary because this could be a potential, and with the way Brick Memorial is playing defensively, this potentially could be a game that said, told you so next week.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, the ball's going to be flying around in the air plenty at that game between, you know, Dietz and Augello. I mean, Brick Memorial plays one wild game after another every week. You know, that Ocean game where they were firing back and forth with Douglas. Last week with Neptune, they're down 41-21. They come roaring all the way back and win in overtime. So their games have been like, don't leave your seat to even go to the bathroom or anything. You'll probably miss like 3 touchdowns.
Before we go to that really speed talk of all the other games, I want to talk about Southern and Rumson. You're talking about the 15-ranked Southern Regional versus number 6 Rumson. An intriguing game, 2 traditional good defensive teams. Southern plays great defense, not moving the ball that well. I don't think Southern can get only 110 yards of offense and beat Rumson. They have to muster some type of points, create turnovers, whatever. I think Rumson's on a roll. And you know, this could be a dangerous game for Southern playing on the road too against Rumson. Rumson's going to be that dangerous team in the playoffs that we're going to say, told you.
Yeah, especially because they're young, you know, and by the end of the season, the end of the regular season, those players are not going to be, you know, the fresh-faced first-year starters. They're veterans by that point. So I think that, you know, in Southern offensively, that's just been an Achilles heel for them. Even when they did beat Long Branch, it was 7-0. Last week they couldn't score against Middletown North. So that, you know, their defense has to create turnovers and short fields if they want to be able to stick with Rumson. And, you know, once again, though, the comparative strength of the American division against these other divisions. You know, Rumson kind of a middle-of-the-pack team in that division right now. Are they way better than a Southern team that's near the top of their division or not? Like, we're going to find out. When we're talking about the rest of Week 5, I don't know if this game is really going to be competitive, but it has a great history. The Civil War, Toms River North versus Toms River South. I will say this. The most highly attended short conference game I ever covered, ever, in 20-plus years, was when these two teams played each other in the early 2000s. They were both undefeated, and there was almost 9,000, 10,000 people there. It was absolutely crazy. So while North is a heavy favorite here, still great atmosphere, great rivalry.
I mean, Tom Driver North is loaded with experience and still has some youth to him. Tom Driver South is just very, very young. This is a big mismatch. But leading up to the game, yeah, Civil War, a lot of history with that. Point Borough and East.
That's just another good team looking to keep it rolling. Point Borough is a heavy favorite in that one.
Tie favorite.
We're also, Manalapan, after a couple just gut-wrenching losses, they're not going to play a winless Freehold Borough team. I mean, Freehold Borough, their schedule is just unforgiving.
They got somebody mad on the committee that was making it right there. But yeah, you're right. Manalapan, I think, will be on track with that. Interesting game, though, Scott. We were talking about this earlier.
Yeah, sneaky good game. Colts Neck Lacey.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Colts Neck doesn't throw the football. They run, and they play good defense. If Lacey can kind of stifle the run a little bit, this could be interesting. Because I think Lacey is a team that's getting a little bit more they played Long Branch pretty tough and then petered at the end. They beat Central 31-18. This could be a game where it could be an upset. It's at Lacey. Lacey beat them last year.
Colts Neck is one of those teams, too, that dominates the game, but then maybe not on the scoreboard.
Like last week.
Really lopsided or this and that, but it's only, 14-0, and then Lacey hits a big play, you never know. But, I mean, Colts Neck, obviously the heavy favorite in that game.
I know.
And then you have the rivalry game, Jackson Memorial, Jackson Liberty. I mean, Memorial has completely dominated this rivalry. And, again, I think they come into this game as the favorite.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Matawan and Homedale. Matawan may be a quiet 4-1 team. They're 14th in the Shore, playing a Homedale team that's been missing their head football coach. Coach Reynes has been out on medical for the last 2 weeks. So, and again, we're thinking of him. This could be an interesting game for Matawan to get to 4-1, which they have not been at that for a while. With that, and then Monmouth Shore is a very intriguing game.
Yes, that's an interesting crossover game. Like Shore, like we've talked about, looks like the best team in that Patriot division. How do they fare against a Monmouth team that's kind of like middle of the pack in their division?
And they played each other the last year too. With Julian Jones at running back and Anthony Jen at quarterback, could make it interesting. Maybe this might be a very good game against Shore. Beatable. I mean, could they be beatable?
I mean, it all comes down to, can you match Shore up front? If their line wins the battle, then, that usually means they're going to win the game. But Jones is a game-breaking player. Can he make enough plays that they're able to pull this one out? But this is another one really interesting as far as the comparative strength of the divisions, the size of the schools, that kind of stuff.
Barnegat 2-2, just coming off a tough loss last week at Asbury Park, who just inherited a lot more players from the week prior. They're 1-2. Asbury Park has just been in disarray all year with forfeiting the game, missing guys out, whatever the reasons were. But now I think slowly they're coming back, and they're a dangerous team, Asbury Park, because
especially at home against a good, against a bigger school, where you can get a lot more points playoff wise off them if you get a victory in this game. I think that's going to be an interesting game. And then you have Manasquan surprisingly still looking for their first victory on the road at Manchester.
Patton's been out. Supposedly he may be coming this week, which would be a huge gain for Manasquan. Manchester,
they've been up and down. We talked about them a lot in their 2-0 start. Now they had a couple tough losses. I think the loss to Jackson Liberty was a really tough one for them. And that's the thing. Even though they have the better record, I would still consider Manasquan the favorite here.
100%
history. And like you said, if Patton comes back, so this is an opportunity for Manchester to get that momentum back. And then you talk about another winless team trying to get on the board. That's Central playing against Brick in an Ocean County matchup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Central's been banged up a little bit this year. Bricktown, surprisingly, 2-2. I thought they weren't going to be, winning like they did the last, with 2 wins. But I could see this being a close game too, because at any point Central could say, you know what, we are going to win this game and play tough and beat a Brick team which is vulnerable. which is vulnerable. So that could be an upset special too. But when people get the injury bug, it gets very contagious because it trickles to other people. And it's just very
and then
unfortunate.
We have this other game that's interesting that Pinelands has kind of struggled to score points at times this year, although they did come roaring back from a 3-touchdown deficit against Babylon. And they're playing a Lakewood team that hasn't really stopped anyone, but puts up a ton of points. So this is a really two different styles clashing in this one.
Yeah, Lakewood makes you feel a little uneasy because he can score at any time. But you also can wear them down on the other side of the ball, which Pinelands does a pretty good job. They're mammoth up front. I think Pinelands gets back on the win column and can get into a pretty good winning streak, looking at their schedule for the next 3 weeks after that.
And then you have a bunch of Group 1 teams. In the old days, this used to be those Greater Middlesex Conference where they would have the crossover games. They got rid of that. Then for a while, these teams were playing each other twice a year. Keensburg played Point Beach twice and Keyport twice. Now they're going outside the conference. You have Keyport playing Gateway, Point Beach playing Kip Academy, and Keensburg playing Haddon Township. So that's just 3 Group 1s, going outside the Shore Conference, trying to play schools of their similar size. And these games are always interesting to me just to show how strong are the small school programs in the Shore compared to ones in other areas.
Oh, yeah. There's a big difference with the level of play other places to us. Those are 3 games I could see. I could see at least 2 of them, coming up top with that. And they're good teams. Point Beach has a lot of good things to look at their film the last couple of weeks, but they only have 1 win. They need a win big time, Point Beach.
And Keensburg obviously looking for their first win in there too, so they're hoping to get that accomplished after that wild game with Lakewood last
Right.
week.
So, Scott, this is our Week 5 lineup. I mean, a lot of teams are playing unfamiliar territory, playing other division teams for the moment, playing out of the area too. And one of the teams playing at MetLife Stadium, like we said, Jet Stadium. So it'd be very interesting to see where everybody's matching up. But you're right. Everybody likes to talk down about other divisions and boost their own division. Well, we're going to see now.
When the coaches have that all-shore meeting at the end of the year and they start arguing who should be all-shore overall, and this comparative strength of the division starts to get argued, these are the kind of games you use as your argument.
I find it interesting. There's not a lot of sexy matchups. Like if you look at it, it just isn't. But
a lot of heavy favorites. But
a lot of heavy favorites.
Intriguing matchups of divisional strength.
But I like to see which division's stronger than the other one. So hopefully it equals out. But there are a lot of mismatches in terms of if you just eyeball a lot of the games. So it'll be interesting. But in the Shore Conference, there's always upsets. It's just a matter because every Friday night when we're hearing scores, we're going, "Are you kidding me? What?
Yeah.
Did you read that wrong?" Yeah.
After the first couple teams, there's a ton of parity in the Shore Conference this year. So you're right. You can't be completely shocked when some of these scores come across.
Scott, I always wanted to do that. I wanted to retweet or tweet out the wrong score from the other side to see if people really are looking at my tweets. Right? Like have a team like if RBC
I wouldn't advocate that. That doesn't give you a whole lot of credibility when you start saying that, the team that was winning 42-0 is losing 42.
Yeah. Well, at least I know people are looking at my Twitter. So that's that. But I'm not a Twitter guy. I think I might boycott Twitter and just do Instagram.
You're an Instagram guy.
I do because it's pictures. It's pictures. Take a picture of the scoreboard. Done. I just don't like tweeting. I really don't. But you know what? You are good at tweeting. So,
so now you're throwing this on my shoulders.
I'm only kidding. Well, Scott, another, we're getting 1 week closer to state playoff time. Next week, I think we'll start talking briefly about state playoff.
Most teams playing 10 games, right? So this is the midway point.
Well, this is 8. I mean, for the cutoff is 8.
Well, I'm saying once you throw in crossover games, and playoff games, and things like that, everybody's usually plays about 10 or so. So this is about the midway point here. Yeah, cutoff is 8 or 9 games, depending on if you played week 0. So I know coaches don't like to talk about playoffs, but at what point do you start talking about playoffs? We will next week, without a doubt. So I'm Rob Davis, Scott Stump. We're saying goodbye to everybody. Enjoy your weekend.